Core is your true nature. I'm not important. It is the team which is more important. It's the organization which is more important. You disagree on one point out of 10, and you cancel that person from your life. And when I talk to CEOs, is that they say, this is my purpose. And then they hand over 5, 6 PowerPoint slides to me and believe that's it. After 6 days together, what state that person had. The clarity for the solutions for us leaders only comes with our consciousness, with our state we are in. If it is effortless, then it is your purpose. In the workplace, you need to obey. In the school, we need to obey. But where can you be who you are?
What is a leader without control?
I have never ever done something to reach where I am now after 13 years. I've just been doing every day what I feel I should do. I've started with a backpack. I had no money, nothing. Today, there are around 260 people who are working within Europe. There's an entity in US, there's an entity in Middle East. It is growing.
Kaivalya, I'm super excited to have you in the Core Impact podcast. I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful for getting to know you last year and visiting the event in Graz. I'm really grateful for all the work that you are doing, all the change, the transformation, the word that you mentioned again and again. To start directly and to get inspired by you, imagine you have 1 minute to prepare yourself for an extremely important meeting. Can you show us, like we can do quick practice or exercise with you? What do you do with this 1 minute?
First of all, thank you for having me, Omar. As you are excited, me equally, I'm excited to meet a brother on this path. So thanks a lot for having me. Now, coming back to your for your question, I don't need a minute, actually. It's a matter of seconds. I invoke my heart and that's it. So, if you have 1 minute time, you don't require that if you are really prepared well. And to be prepared well, this is a daily exercise. So to start preparing yourself in that 1 minute, I don't think it is applicable. So it is really like, I see myself like a sportsman who prepares for his exercise, for his practice, for his expertise. And the same I do. I prepare myself every day, because I never know what is happening. Like today I've got the honor to be on your show and talking together with you and contemplating together with you. But there may be many other things which are not planned in life, which are coming as an opportunity. And so I always try to prepare in the morning, and I don't need that 1 minute. It really takes seconds, and then I'm there. I'll just close my eyes and connect to my heart and just keep on rolling.
Perfect. Kaivalya, the question that I like to start asking my guests with, and I'm really curious what you're going to say. What is your why? Why do you do what you do?
Because my heart tells me, when I started 13 years back, the first 2 years, hardly anyone came. And other people were feeling sorry that no one came. But I never felt like that. So my why is I express by my heart. I don't carry any baggage, any knowledge, any expertise or past impressions with me or past knowledge with me. I am in the moment. And so my why is to really express my heart. People might like it, people might not like it, people might not care about it, but it's not my problem. So I don't carry any baggage, and I am in the moment. I express my heart, and my heart is always truthful to that.
As I ask my guests about their why, I also like to share mine. Why I started the Core Impact podcast. After working across companies, cities, and cultures, I kept noticing the same pattern. Most people around me were burned out, disengaged, and only lived for the weekend. I also experienced it myself. I went through a burnout, and I knew since then that I couldn't come back to the same patterns and mindset. What I've learned since, from connecting with experts and personal experiences, is that small shifts in routines and mindset can dramatically reduce stress and lead to more fulfilling work. That's why I created this podcast, to explore how can we build workplaces that are joyful, meaningful, and sustainable from the inside out, where profit meets purpose, because real impact starts at the core. Kaivalya, since you invited me last year to the event and I got to know your work, that was one of the reasons actually why I named the podcast Core Impact Podcast.
Beautiful.
I want you to explain in simple words what core is.
Core is your true nature. So core stands for your true nature. Core stands for your purpose. Core stands for your core emotions, for who you truly are. It is not something external, it is purely internal. So only this core will give us that. You know, the couple of days I'm contemplating always, almost 24 hours, I'm contemplating about what is it, what is life, what is business, what is the business operating system. It is something which is truly my core interest actually as an entrepreneur. So this core will give you the sense of an organization, and to explain it in words or to outline your core in words is very difficult because the words do not have the capacity to truly express from what is within yourself. It is limited. Your mind, our mind is limited, but the core is eternal, it is unlimited, it's holistic, it's sustainable. So that is the core as such.
Beautiful, Kaivalya. There is also the 4 core skills that we talked about last year
Mhm.
in the event, and that was something that stayed with me until now. And I'm curious also to hear from you what you gonna explain about them. Again, I'm gonna talk about the 4 core skills, and you can tell me if they are still valid because everything's changing. So the first one was adaptability over resistance.
Mhm.
What does that mean practically in everyday life, especially in companies?
That's exactly what I mentioned before with the core, you know, or with the way I am. So to be able to bring an organization to a target, to a goal, to a vision, but on the same time to be able to cope with the daily challenges. The world is changing on a daily matter. And as a leader, this adaptability helps you to be in the flow. So the entire topic of the event you are referring to was how to get into the flow. So this adaptability is a core quality of everyone. So we often go into resistance if things don't work the way we want the things to work. But then a reflected human being, a true leader, is able to adapt to the new circumstances. And that's a huge I would even call it competitive advantage if you have that, because others might struggle, others might go into drama, others might be insecure. But as a truthful leader, you are adaptable to the changes which are happening, and you see the opportunity these changes do. So if you are in your mind, you want things to go exactly as you planned. But that's no more the reality of this world. It is changing on, as mentioned, daily matters. So this adaptability will help you if you focus on that, if you observe yourself. Am I really flowing? Am I in resistance? Am I rigid as such? Do I want it to happen the way I want? Then you will be struggling a lot. So this adaptability is something which is a core quality of a leader who brings himself and the organization into a flow position. And
Perfect.
it's a strength, you know, it shows this. You will take the entire organization with you. And so, you and me, we are very much focusing on these leaders, promoting these leaders, on explaining to the leaders, to their mind, why is it so important to be adaptable to the change.
Mhm. And the second one was inclusion over authority.
Mhm.
And also, how would you explain to CEOs, to leaders, that they can be leaders without controlling others? If
Mhm.
they don't control, what is a leader without control?
A leader without control has faith. has faith in him or herself as well as in the team. So the control is only a lack of, of trust, a lack of faith in the people. So faith plays a very vital role. Trust plays a very vital role. You give the people an opportunity, a job, a service they should conduct, but you leave it up to them to find their own way how to do that. So you give them freedom, you give them responsibility, and you request commitment from them to deliver their level best. So it is something which I practice since 12 years. And I can tell you, Omar, I am coming often, also when I went to the Graz event, I didn't know the full picture. But what the people delivered there was beyond my imagination because they were all fully tuned into that. You open doors in your people and you open energies and emotional connection to the topic where it is their own baby. I can be, as a CEO, very isolated if I control everything, if I don't trust my people, if I check on my people, or I can go into that position where I enable my people to grow, to find their qualities, to contribute their qualities, and to give them this inner abundance. And that is what is happening actually if you go beyond that, if you leave the control space and if you go into this equality of the people.
And you said requesting them to be committed, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because the commitment is like a discipline, you know. You are a discipline of commitment towards the work package which you have received. It's yours. It's your responsibility. So you can't, if you control, you take away the responsibility from it and then you take it up to you. But you will see more and more leaders being exhausted because they put all the baggage on their shoulders rather than like a cluster distributing the jobs actually. And people take responsibility. That's my experience.
Mm. And I like the example that you mentioned because I love the event. It's not only what happened, but also the energy there. It's
Mhm.
something that I cannot explain.
Mhm.
It's beyond my mind, I think.
True. Very true. Very true. But you sensed it, you know. You
Yeah.
say your heart was open and you sensed it, you know. If you it is always a question of mind. If you look at the energy, if you are sensible for the energy, then you will have your focus on that, you know. Where is your focus going?
So the third one was contribution over achievement.
Mhm.
And now the question is how giving is more powerful than winning.
That's actually what I mentioned in the beginning. More important than the result. And that's a challenge in the entrepreneurial environment. But more important than the result is the path you walk. So the guidelines you establish, the culture you establish, the connection between the people which you establish, because the result will come. There's no question. And so the people, how they contribute together is very important. So it might even be not as fast, but it's much more resilient. It is much more stable, and it will it will bring you to that result. So often you see in organizations that they compromise on the ethics, on the moral, on the values if they walk this path, and that can't happen. As a leader, you need to guide your people to stay on that path, not to make the quick buck, but to really be strengthened on what makes us unique. You can't compromise on that. So staying on that path, delivering on that path, and not only seeing the result. The result is important, but the result will come if you carry on contributing like that.
Mm. The last one, back then, it was the most challenging one for me to absorb. And until now, I have every now and then
Mm.
conversations with friends. And when it comes back to this topic, I find it also challenging to explain it. And I still remember what you said, you don't have to convince anyone. So it is collaboration over competition.
Mhm.
And the question is, doesn't competition bring the best out of us?
Competition can end to where we are right now, you know.
Mm,
Greed is the governing force. So competition is something which is true in sports. If you play soccer, if you play rugby, if you play tennis, or whatever sport you do, there you have a competition. In business, it is about collaboration. Collaboration, and you know from the mathematics, if the vectors go into the same direction, then there's a 65% higher energy there. So to collaborate with each other. If we start thinking in the competitive sector, then our mind is always engaged in where are we better than others, or putting one down, putting one up. But if we see this collaboration as an inspiration, I see you as an inspiration for me, then you start actually using these joint energies to distribute something. So I would rather use the word inspiration as such. You have core values, I have core values. They are not the same. Can never be the same. But now, what is unique on you? What is unique in me? And how can we together combined find something, a third entity, which is unique, composed of two of us? So that is the beauty of this new world. It is not lectured today. You won't find it in universal studies as such so far. It will come, it has to come, because this competition has created a lot of greed, selfishness, and narcissism in the leadership today. And that can't be the way we lead this world forward. It is about bringing the qualities together and jointly delivering and sharing the results as such.
I like this term, like, and also to be aware which terms are we using. So we use inspiration instead of competition in business.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And what you rightly say, every word has an energy.
Mm,
So there's nothing wrong about making a lot of money. There's nothing wrong about having luxury. It is the way you do it, you know.
mm,
It is internal view on that. To experience abundance can't only be in the outer world, it needs to be in the inner world. And so from this inner world, from this inner state, to see this inspiration, and that's how I approach every meeting, every person I meet. I try to learn. I try to see what can I contribute.
mm,
What does that person need? And like that, I'm totally open in my heart and contributing in the way it is required at that very moment.
mm. Beautiful, Kivalia. I'm curious to know from you, especially that you work with CEOs and everything that you're talking about, you are implementing like in real life. What is the biggest misconception about purpose when you talk with companies like and CEOs?
I think the biggest misconception is that they only see it as a material part. If you see, for example, I take one topic, equality.
Mm,
Equality is an inner state. In the world, in the practical world out there, you can't see everyone equal practically. But your inner approach is like that. So innerly, you don't see any differentiation. You see unity between them. Same is true for purpose as such. It is an inner quality. So the misconcept is actually that people believe that they can put it into lines, that they can make it as a mind driven aspect. It's not a mind driven aspect. It is something which slowly establishes from within. So it is a process. It's an inner process of the leader, of the origin of an organization. And as you rightly say, the purpose of a leader, the purpose of an organization are equally important. So you need to find the uniqueness of your organization. You need to find the uniqueness of yourself. And like
mm,
that, you will help the people around you to walk that path. So often it is, if you ask me about the misconcept, it is something which people try to do with a method, with a system, and then they are very happy that they have achieved it, but they don't feel it, they don't
mm,
live it, They don't really execute it. They fall back into the old patterns as soon as it gets stressful and so on. So this purpose has to come from within, has to come from your core, and will reveal itself very naturally. Like it is the same if you breathe in and breathe out. You never think about breathing in and breathing out. You don't even believe you're doing something. And the same as with your breath is with your purpose. You don't feel it even. It is very natural to you. So the misconcept of people today, leaders today, and when I talk to CEOs, is that they say, this is my purpose. And then they hand over 5, 6 PowerPoint slides to me and believe that's it. It's not that because they don't feel it, because they fall back, as I mentioned before, into that pattern. So guide leaders on this inner process like a breath to live their purpose will be totally natural to them. It comes without an effort, and they are overwhelmed because they feel it is effortless. And if it is effortless, then it is your purpose. If it has to come with an effort, it can't be your purpose.
Wow. That needs a bit like to just reflect on. If it's effortless, then it is your purpose.
Mhm. That's what I mentioned before, Omar. I have never ever done something to reach where I am now after 13 years. I've just been doing every day what I feel I should do. It might be in conflict to other people's expectation. That's true. But was always mine. It was always mine, and I've expressed myself. So if you, from today on, express yourself, after 5 years, you'll be overwhelmed where you are. But you yourself wouldn't even feel it. Others will come and say, wow, Omar, what have you reached within 5 years? For you, it hasn't been any effort because you have done what you enjoy to do. You have just, as your breath, you have naturally acted. We humans, we need to take decisions. That's a human life. And we need to act as such. Without action, nothing will happen. But why don't we act naturally? Why don't we be naturally? And that's the entire purpose of transformation.
I really felt what you were saying, Kaivalya. I even had goosebumps, and I felt it, and I think after this podcast, I'm gonna listen to it many times, me myself, before thinking about others who might watch. Do you feel inspired by this conversation? If that's the case, please share that with me, write me a comment, and share it with a friend that you know will benefit from this podcast. Core Impact Podcast is on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all other major platforms. Do you have some examples where inner transformation transformed into measurable outcomes that you can say, okay, I saw what happened after?
Yeah, I mean, there are many, many examples there. If you look at the situation which is in this world, you can't overcome this way from within to the outer world. If you look at my own story, I've started with a backpack. I had no money, nothing. And I just walked that path. Today, there are around 260 people who are working on this entire initiative within Europe. There's an entity in US, there's an entity in Middle East where I'm going tomorrow to visit them. And it is growing by the day. So this inner transformation is much stronger than any business plan you put together. And it is a consistent change as such. If you look at the projects we have done so far, we have not taken one Swiss franc or euro in your region of credit on us. We are just developing everything from our strength. And like that, you are free actually in your development. You're free in your achievement. And if you want to take one practical example, and you can take the project of Graz, where there were like, I think in the end, there were 65 people working on this project from our side. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not the project leader, I'm just getting figures, and it's already 1 year. So if you see how they came up with the challenges, and so these are the factors which I believe are so important. As a leader, you are measured on how do you meet challenges, how do you meet obstacles. And if you have a team which meets these obstacles and grows these obstacles, then the result is what we have seen in Graz, where I think 350 attendees have enjoyed a mind-blowing time together. So from no knowledge, no expertise, none of us has ever done an event in an opera like that, to contributing to it with all laymen's behind it in terms of expertise, they have managed together to always fill the gaps as such. So one thing is the figures, actually 350 attendees and the revenue of, I think, 250K plus, which was achieved there, and being actually in a position to do something which no one has done ever is a lot of gain for the team itself, next to the entrepreneurial advantages you have. So this is what I say is transformation, to come into a position where many would walk away. People have a good thought, but then if they want to execute the thought, then they see obstacles and then they give up.
Mm.
So this factor actually of transformation is for me not an individual topic. It starts with the individual, but for me it's a team topic. And when I see my team, how they have developed themselves, how they went into challenges, how they were also having a lot of tough discussions with each other, but
Mm.
didn't lose the connection. That is the transformation I'm talking of. And
Mm.
this transformation I see in many organizations out there who approach the challenge from the right point of consciousness. I was together with one CEO who has a lot of issues with the US tariff topics and who was seeing how to run the business. Should a person run it out of a different country into the US? Or how should he cope with this? And I was with the person, as the person received on a daily basis changed percentage on the taxes he had to pay, and how that person felt. And after 6 days together, what state that person had, the clarity for the solutions for us leaders only comes with our consciousness, with our state we are in. And so how to keep your state, how to evolve in your state, how to nourish your state. These are the going into positions for a leader in these days. It is no more what licenses or certificates or languages or expertises you carry. Yes, they are important. I don't want to neglect that. But today we are talking about different games. And this different game is based on your state. How good is your state? And you need to be honest only to yourself. You don't need to share it with anyone else, but you need to, first of all, be aware of how am I today? And there's no selfishness behind it. But the question is, how am I? What do I need? How do I want to work? And you will see how your energy, with this evolvement of your energy, of your consciousness, you will also change the style in what you are working. So you're putting your energy into your work. Formerly, 5 years, 10 years ago, a lot of people, attendees, a lot of employees were just physically in the organization. To be a leading organization, you can't just count on the physical hours someone is there.
Mm.
It is about people bringing their energy into the organization, being emotionally connected. And that starts with the leader. The leader should show that you are vulnerable, that you make mistakes, that you correct yourself. You need to live it, actually. And I think that are important aspects of this change of time we are in, which is a beautiful time from my point of view and a big opportunity for entrepreneurs.
Mm. Beautiful, Kaivalya. Since you talked about vulnerability, first of all, do you react or you always stay calm?
No, I also react. I recently had a very tough meeting, external meeting with two other people who were straight coming after me. And actually, to be honest, it was one of the first times where I was really tough. I don't feel like I've been very tough outside as such, but definitely it is. And it is important. I think time has changed from my feeling April from this year on, time has changed. I don't
Mm.
know, I guess many who listen also sense that. And it is now about clarity. And so if you talk of the Kaivalya 5 years ago, I think he was a very compassionate person. Now I like these discussions, and I also invite these controversial discussions like you have with your friends. I think that is very important for us to have all the people in the same bubble who all talk about the same things. That will not really help us to evolve. But this controversy in the discussions and to understand the other person's point, but also evolve in your own points, that can lead to tough discussions, which I had, I think, 2 days, 3 days ago. But it was beautiful, like we, in the end of the day, everyone who participated enjoyed it.
So there was times where you acted and then you apologize, or how did it end well in the end?
No, I think everyone felt like everyone expressed, you have your truth as Omar, Kaivalya has his truth as Kaivalya. Neither is more important. I
Mm.
think it is important that you and me fully express what we feel in this very moment. It can be totally controversial. And in the end of the day, when that happens, we feel truly connected because I respect you, I listen to you, I try to learn from you and understand you. Likewise, you do the same. And so we both grow. And so it's totally natural that we feel connected. My entire work since 13 years is to help people to evolve, to grow, but not to make them dependent on me. And so my entire work internally in my organizations as well as externally with our customers is to help them, but to not make them dependent. Our business model is to dissolve ourselves. If we are no more required, then we'll dissolve ourselves. So we are seeking for this, that we do our job as good as possible, that we are no more required.
Mm. Wow. It's against the norm, like very much.
But you know that this is the Omar. Sometimes I'm really like in a circus. I feel sometimes people want change, and then you tell them what is the change, and then they want to stay with what they have. Yeah, either you want change or not. I was together with a successful entrepreneur the other day, and he was explaining me what he was doing. Beautiful job, brilliant job. And then I said, I never asked for money. People gave money if they wanted to. And he said, yeah, but how do you survive? Then I say, I have faith. I have faith in the universe. I do my level best. I try to be selfless. I try to serve others. I try to understand how can I help the other person to grow. That's it. And then he said, yeah, but how do you live? And I said, it happens. It happens like that. On my entire journey, in the beginning, I had no car, nothing. I was driving with Flexbus, the famous German organization, to make some advertising here, and my bicycle and trains through Europe. And then suddenly the first person came and donated a car. To now, I've got 7 cars. I don't have 7 cars right now, but like before, it was very old cars, so they broke down after a recent time. But up to now, I always got a car as a donation. People came and said, I want to give you a car. And so you have to have faith in what you do, in who you are. You can't buy this by signing up a life insurance or whatever. It has to come internally. But there's nothing wrong on a human being. But you need to go into that step of having faith in yourself, in your abilities, and expressing through your heart. It's not more than that which is required. So the entire work of IATL is to help the leaders to connect through their heart and express through their heart. So I am not doing anything. When I'm talking with you in an interview, I don't know what the topic is. I just meet a friend and I talk with a friend. That's it. I don't carry any knowledge or any baggage with me and prepare 20 questions and we go down and we pretend to be just meeting on an. It's not like that. It's having everything which I need is there in this moment. And if it's not there, I don't need it. So I try to be holistic. I try to be sustainable in my way of living.
And I appreciate that, and I appreciate all the guests who don't ask for questions before. By the way, I've been doing podcasts for a while, and it's been in different languages and so. In the beginning, I was like, yeah, I give the questions in advance, or if they ask me, I tell them. And then I didn't feel that it was authentic, and this is what you're talking about. And now I understand more why I don't like to. I tell you in general what we are going to talk about. Of course, it's kind of something related to your experience and everything.
Mhm.
But yeah, and then when it's authentic, then you can talk from your heart, not only from your mind, right?
It's the only way. You know how, like you and me, if we both believe in peace in this world, we both are in a bubble. You are and me are in this peace bubble, as an example. Or compassion, take compassion in the workplace. We are both in this bubble. So we will not learn because you and me talk the same language, talk the same, have the same values. Where we will only learn if you express from your heart and I express from my heart, because that is different. And so that is how this conversation is also. When you ask me, I said, naturally, I want to talk with you. I don't know if it's recorded or I don't care about that, but I want to talk with you and just feel like you and me are here and we might record it or not. I don't care about that. But then something will come out, which is because if it's from your heart, if it's from my heart, then it is a use for someone else. But if you look at human being, how much garbage we humans produce, and then you look at animals, they hardly produce any garbage. So we should see that we reduce the amount of garbage which we produce, and that will only happen if we start living out of our heart, out of our core, and contributing like that. It's not difficult, but it needs some practice, it needs some expertise, it needs some people who are in a higher energy who can drive you into that direction. And that's the entire work which I do. I do no more go into operations of the organization. I just see how the operations of ours develop. And then I talk to the people in the organization and I might give my inspiration if I feel like it is appropriate.
Since you talked about peace, and we have lots of conflict in our world, how this inner transformation helps to resolve these conflicts.
So there are two things actually. The conflicts are conflicts which have to happen. Not all of them, but most of them have to happen. It's an expression. If you look at the conflicts out there, they are also within myself. So it's a purification process. So it is happening. It is happening, and I am part of it. I can't neglect to be part of it. So I'm part of that. These outer conflicts are inner conflicts and are part of that purification. So what is happening right now, and if you are caught in the drama, haven't got the clarity of what is happening out there. It is not good what is happening out there. I don't appreciate it, but it is a part of the process. And you need to see the higher goal. So it's a purification of us human beings, of the ones who want change, of the ones who are ready to transform, to allow this transformation to happen. What is happening right now is a new ideology is going to be established. The old ideology, where it is about greed, where it is about suppression, where it is about power games, where it is about ego games, where it is about narcissistic, egoistic, selfish made recognition for your own sake and benefit, it is over. If someone doesn't believe, Ask me in 5 years and you will admit that. You need to change as a leader. If you want to go in that flow of what is happening in this ideological change, in this new governance of this world, you need to connect to your heart. So what is happening out there, and that is your question, is a part of this purification. So it is important with what energies do you connect yourself. If you look, for example, 2-3 hours YouTube videos on Trump or bashing Trump, even pro Trump or bashing Trump, you are part of that energy. You will feel not good. Neither if you are pro Trump nor if you're bashing Trump. Both positions you will not feel good. So rather than doing that, start contributing and doing good for this world, delivering good content like your channel, the Core Impact podcast is doing that. Deliver something from your heart which you believe and focus on yourself. Focus on doing good things for this world. And this will automatically bring you there. It is not a rocket science. It is trust your heart, speak what you feel, and be honest to yourself. So, yes, this world is going to be crazy for the next couple of years, but this is a part of the process. Have faith, be positive, be open, and connect with people who are righteous, who are talking the truth, who distribute love and peace.
When I started searching for like-minded people, it was a year ago, and I found you on social media, and I found a video of you. There was another conversation that you had also, and then you were talking about love. I felt it, and at the same time, I was like, we are talking about business. Oh, how come love comes into business? You know, this word is like a foreign word in this environment. So yeah,
True.
it's beautiful.
True. And you know, it is, what does that love stand for? You know, you can replicate that word with other words. You can, correct it with other words. It is what I truly believe in, unity. So many organizations, many forces, many powers try to separate entities, people, so that they have power over them. So you can only have power over people if you separate them. Now, my entire ideology goes exactly the other way around, to unite them. If you talk to my people, they might be angry on something. If they talk to me within 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, they've forgotten even what they wanted to tell and they feel totally peaceful because I represent and I render love. No matter if I have a heated discussion with someone, I first connect to that person. And from this connection, I start the dialogue or the discussion, whatever it is. But I never ever go into a situation with anyone around without first connecting to the person, feeling that person. And that is this love, what I'm talking of. Love is a tool, love is an emotion which allows you to truly connect from within to the other person. And then you can start the work. But I often see it. I had it recently in another meeting internally where I told the people to do something and they did it immediately. And then they presented the result and I said, it's not what I wanted. Then they were saying, yeah, but what did you want? Then I said, this question you should have asked before, you know, rather than jumping into doing the work. And we are so trained in Europe. You give us something to do and we are immediately on. Instead, we should think about it for a moment and say, okay, what is really required before we execute something and try to do it? So there's so many beautiful changes, Omar, which are there for us. I think it's like Christmas time where a lot of gifts are there. But if we are lost in the dramas of this world, we'll not see the gifts. Like I met you 1 year ago, how you have changed, your energy has changed. 1 year ago, to when I may express that in this channel, I don't know if I'm allowed to. I
Yeah, of
need your
course.
consent on that. So when I observed you 1 year ago and you were curious, but you were not secure. Today, I sense you as a very secure person, internally secure. You're enjoying what you're doing. It gives you inner abundance. There's a change in your energy. And that is what makes me happy. You know, when I see people I met them the first time and how they evolve. And they don't evolve because of me. They evolve because they have decided to. You have decided you want to explore something. It was your decision, not mine. So this self-responsibility is also very important. You can't work with people, you can't be with people, you can't help people or assist people if they are not willing to take the responsibility for that life. And that I feel you have taken, and that's why your energy has changed already.
Yeah, thank you, Kaivalya. I really appreciate that. And in general, we are totally open. You can say whatever you feel like. I love that.
Yeah, true.
I'm also curious with your work also with the leaders and the CEOs in business. What is the thing that surprised you the most that you like to share?
I've been together with very, very rich people in this world, and they have the same issues as anyone else. There's no difference in issues than anyone else. It is the same solution. It's the connection. It's the connection to your core. So these challenges which they have might be from a material point of view 100 times bigger, whatever, but it's the same. It is existential. The risks, the challenges are existential for them. It is about relationship, it's about health, it's about how to bring the company ahead or how to hand it over to the next generation. Shall we sell the company? Shall we bring it to the stock exchange? Shall we hand it over to the next generation? There are a lot of insecurities in this question. And to bring them into a state where their decision comes from within themselves, that is a beauty of it. But it doesn't matter if it is a student coming into the first job or someone running a company in the third, fourth, or fifth generation as a multinational organization producing that. And many people are not having the patience actually of seeing the transformation, especially in billion-dollar companies. They don't see that the top leaders are willing for the change. And that is something which I find dramatic. The now involved board members or top management of the organizations are not ready for it, then it will be very challenging for them to meet the obligations or the needs of the future, of the present moment and of the future. So they need to be able to change. And so I would say, from coming back to your question, these are really interestingly, and I've never, like when I started my work, I worked with homeless people. I worked with special needs children. That's where I come from. And I have been an entrepreneur before, running many organizations, but I went back to the homeless people, and that was a beautiful time. Now, if I see these people, and I've never experienced, I've never imagined to be at that level of it, but it's because of the message, because I am not dependent on anyone. I can truly speak what I feel, and I don't hide that. So they know when they talk to me, then I'll honestly, if they give me their consent, like you gave me the consent, if I get the consent, then I'll truly express what I feel. And that's no agenda behind it. I have no interest in that. I just want to help the people to take their journey on forward, because it is about life, and the life is a moment after moment after moment. It's a flow, and people haven't understood that. They get stuck in that. And to help them with my view of seeing things, to give them a broader picture of the potential which they have, is something which brings inner peace to them.
What are your top 3 core values?
My personal ones.
Yes.
My personal top 3 values is selfless service. I am not having any agenda behind myself. I just do what I feel is in the very moment. That's the only one I carry. I don't carry any other. I only have one, to be sorry about that.
Okay.
But I
So
don't, I just enjoy the moment as such. I'm an open book. Like, I express my feelings. Sometimes I'm angry because things make me angry and I express my anger. Sometimes I'm doubtful and I'm
Mm.
doubting and I'm expressing that. So I don't hold back on what I feel. And that's why people know who I am. They might not like me, that's fine, but I don't try to pretend to be someone else. Like if you look at Instagram and just one social media, LinkedIn, you can also take, people present themselves always from the best position there. But where are they natural? And that brings them away from who they really are. I don't say
Mm.
you need to express that in Instagram, but I just want to give you an example of how our world is. In a relationship, you try to not be a challenge for anyone around you, and so on. In the workplace, you need to obey. In the school, we need to obey. And you're moving away from who you are. But where can you be who you are? And that is something which I didn't want to live anymore. And I changed my life. And the people who are with me truly love me, because otherwise they could not stand me. When I'm angry, then I also can explain why am I angry. Why am I not satisfied? Why do I not agree as such? But I
Mm.
don't try to paint Kaivalya who others expect to be. That is too complicated for me.
And you do this at the same time with love. Like I
Yes,
can tell you, uh,
that's very
yeah,
important.
yeah. So I
That
can
is
tell you,
very,
for
and that's
example,
the key.
sorry.
That's the key. Sorry, that's the key actually, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to expand on it, you can tell me. I just wanted to say as an example. For example, I can say Kaivalya. Either I say it explicitly or you feel it because I have this intention. I love you, and I disagree with you on one, two, three. Right?
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, and I think that is very important in these days where you disagree on one point out of 10 and you cancel that person from your life. What is this? It will not help anyone, because this is the beauty of life, that you have a different opinion than me. So accepting your opinion, accepting my opinion, and then discussing how can we do something with it, because we get bored. If we are all the same, we are very bored with each other. So yes, you have a different opinion. You might support a political party or a religious or spiritual or methodology as such, but this is what happens with competition. Then I try to find the points which are against each other, rather than going into, and with love you're going and finding the positions which we connect with each other, and build from this relationship. You start building something.
I'm gonna reflect really on many things you said. It's something you just feel, and I know I can act on it, and then just yeah. It's the thing for me is just to how to take this into action after.
Just take one step after the other. I don't think you need to think about how to take it into action. Just do it,
Mm.
just be yourself. It's only my truth. I'm not saying I'm right. That's what I'm never saying. It's just my experience. You make your experience. It will be different than mine. Might be some inspiring moments in there, but you will have different experience. And I think that is important, that we understand where have we gone wrong as humanity. And we have built operating system for the economy which is based on exploitation. We exploited mother nature, we exploit ourselves, we exploit our members, team members, we exploit our suppliers and customers. And what I want, and what I sense you also are standing for, is to nourish. Let's build an operating system for this economy where we nourish each other, where we nourish ourselves, mother nature, others around us. That has strength. Exploitation, it's over.
I don't want to go into politics, but let's say there are two countries, and there are many examples like this in the world now. Either countries or either inside the country itself, there's some separation. But let's say I see that country A has a right because country B is invading it. Yeah. So if I go and say I am right, and I go like in social media or wherever and always say I am right because I know this country A is right, then I also I'm not contributing to peace in this case, right? I can say what is wrong again, and I say it with love, and I say this is not right, this is not human, for example, to do or to kill, of course, or any kind of hurting other people, but always try to see how can I be a solution, how can I talk to people from both sides, country A and B, to bring them together.
Actually, I learned a lot about diplomacy in the last 2 years, and I wasn't in that field before diplomacy, and I find it very interesting how diplomacy is also changing. And the Swiss are very stuck to a protocol, which is not bad, like has a lot of ethics and moral. And this diplomacy is over right now, and they need to find a new way of diplomacy. So I think I can follow what you're saying. I think what is more important is why is that happening? Yes, there's a conflict, and the ones are having this intention, the others have other intentions, and that's all true. And you can take a point, and you should also take a point and correct wherever you can. True, but the missing link here, from my point of view, is we always had conflicts in this world. There were a lot of conflicts. But what we are missing right now is the ethics and moral and values. So I don't see anything challenging behind conflicts, but what is missing is these values and ethics and moral behind it. And that is why we are going like that. So if two people fight and they go under this understanding, then they can resolve it. At the moment, we can't resolve it because we haven't got that. So we need to establish that again. And it starts with me, that I don't sell myself to anyone. If I feel like I can't help a person, then I will tell him or her that it's not possible for me. So I need to be decisive myself. What thoughts do I have? What words do I use? What actions do I do? And it starts with me. And like that, I can start building up. And like that, it will also spread very naturally as such. The universe will restore peace and love, but every one of us needs to take a decision on what side do you want to stand. And that is important. And then the second step, third step, you explained very beautifully. I have nothing to contribute to that. I totally agree to that. But I think it's always important, if something like that happens, what is the source and how can we correct the source of the issue?
I would like to talk a bit about the future. And the first question is, what are the biggest blind spots that you see companies are unaware of when we talk about the future?
I think the biggest blind spots which organizations which I talk to fall into is that they are afraid. They are afraid of the changes coming. They try to come into this survival mode. They reduce budget on education of developing their people and try to survive this. And I think that is already taking you into an energy. Yes, at this time, you need to be conscious about your spending. You need to be aware about your spending. You should not overinvest. That's at least my recommendation, which I give to the CEOs I'm talking to. Do not overinvest, but keep on moving forward. Stay positive, stay open, stay relaxed in this world. Because only from that state, and I was talking before about the inner state, only from that state you will make wise decisions. So that's one point as such. The other point is, do not take decisions if you're not clear on that. So wait for that right moment to get that inner clarity on your steps. So that's the two main points which I sense when I talk to the top level of leadership in the organizations. And a lot of them are feeling this complexity. But the complexity is actually not there. I'm living in the same world. I don't sense these complexities. What that tells you is the complexity is created by our mind. If this happens, then that happens, then this happens, then that happens. It will never work like that. So again, it is the state of the individual, the state of the leader, which will dissolve the complexity into clarity. And that is the second most important point for me as a leader, to seek for that, to seek for the environment in which you can take these decisions, but move on forward. Don't stay in these survival moments. It's like a moment where they are afraid of being attacked, afraid of the next bad news, afraid of the next challenge. So this fear is something where they are nourishing with their expectation and with their attitude. Be strengthened in this. Find strengths, find your own strength. So this entire crisis, and everyone knows that who has been through crisis, is a huge opportunity. But it is important that you reflect on how do you view this world.
Imagine we are now in 2035. How would the workplace be if all leaders led from their core?
So first of all, in 2035, all leaders who have responsibility will lead in the core. I have no doubt, I have no question. And what that will mean is that the people, the leaders, will take much less productivity, much less operations. I hear a lot of leaders who are really deeply into operations, which I can't understand. And so they will be much more relaxed as leaders. Their people will take much more responsibility and will grow in the opportunities and the challenges they have. So it will be a world where we are nourished, where we will nourish others, where this selfish and I-oriented motive will dissolve fully to a all-oriented motive. It will be some place where not the responsibility is only by one, but it will be taken by a group of people, and it's not relevant who has made it happen. It is the unity, it is the collective consciousness which will take over and which will be resilient, will be innovative, will be adaptable, and will be very much future oriented.
And how do you get this trust? Is it something that you feel, or you can explain with some science?
I don't know if there's science around it. I live this since 13 years, and that it is nourished, that it is growing like it is growing right now over the last 13 years shows me actually that this is the path I want to be on, to be a part of a bigger story where I myself am not important. It is the team which is more important. It's the organization which is more important. And that is something which is coming truly from internal.
I really enjoyed and was inspired by the whole conversation. And as I said, there were times when I had goosebumps, and there were lots of thought-provoking ideas that I'm definitely gonna take with me. And I hope that everyone is listening also enjoying and feeling inspired at the same time. Now I'm gonna give you the chance to say the final words. No question.
So thanks a lot, Omar. First of all, personally, I'm very happy to be good together with you. For the people out there, it is a great time we are moving into, but it requires from us to step up. We can't be staying in the same position as we are. The change is there. We need to be part of that change. We need to imbibe this change and embrace this change and be part of that. Change will happen on a daily matter. It is happening for a good reason. So do not doubt that change. Have faith in grace. Have faith in what is happening, and let's move together on this path. I think it is something which is not particular to one organization, one human being. It is the society which is changing, and we can only solve this together. So I think the unity is another very important aspect. And the third very important aspect is live your core. So express your core, seek for solutions how you can slowly start expressing what you feel. These are the three main aspects which we also discussed in the Core Impact podcast today with Omar. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Kaivalya. And I hope you stay in touch and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
If you have enjoyed this podcast, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn and to follow the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and all other major platforms. Enjoy every moment. Until next time.